The best thing that I ever did in my career was got close to deals.
At that VP plus level, what matters to you? Is it really important that somebody's actually coding themselves? Because if your whole company's coding, who's actually doing the real work?
If I don't know somebody I'm interviewing, the things that I'm looking for is I'm looking for insane curiosity and a high motor. If you can take that data from AI and go act upon it and go make executive decisions and investment decisions on, and you have context on if they're right when the agents give you answers, you're just like, you're superhuman right now.
How do we find these people?
I've got a standing poker night that I have once a month.
Welcome to Whispered Hiring, the podcast where we talk with senior leaders about how they find, vet, attract, and grow go-to-market talent. I'm Andy Mowat, founder of Whispered. Today, I'm joined by Cody Guymon. Cody is the president of Zonos, a technology platform for global trade, which is more relevant now than ever. Before that, Cody has been COO on the go-to-market side, because we all know there's a lot of flavors of COO, at Workato and Qualtrics. Cody grew up in the revenue, the RevOps and the RevOps strategy space. And he's been one of those RevOps people that's grown to really take over all of revenue. So Cody, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Andy. I appreciate it.
Dude, I've been looking forward to this one for a while. We've got to know each other when I was, you were, I think, senior at Workato. We started talking about RevOps, and it's been fun to see how you've taken over all aspects of revenue. I'm curious, like, as you think about building out your leadership team, running revenue, like, is RevOps still that critical hire for you? Or do you feel like you've got that so wired in that you can drop down a level? How do you think about hiring for RevOps?
Yeah, you've got to have a head of RevOps for sure. So I remember back when we first met, revenue ops probably wasn't even the name of it at the time. We were probably still like bifurcated out sales ops and marketing ops and all those other things. But having somebody that can bring it all together, that looks holistically across the revenue org and can strategize and operate to bring it all together is just as key as ever, for sure.
So you've got the entire revenue. That you have marketing and sales and RevOps, all NCS, all rolling up to you?
Yeah, you got it. And implementation, all that good stuff. So yeah, it's nice. I've been able to pair with a founder that loves product and engineering and is just letting me run revenue. And that's what I was kind of looking for in this next move for me into the president role, was somebody that would value the experience I've had, having seen that at some different scales across the business, and joining a smaller company at the time. Zonos, about 100 people. So being able to come in and really build and go oversee all of revenue is something I was looking for, and I found it here and love it. So
that's great. I mean, I always say it's always a challenging situation for me when you have a CEO that has to be the decider of go-to-market decisions, right? And the ability to put that one level down to COO, president, CRO, whichever one of those titles you take. What is the advice you would give to somebody stepping into a seat like yours in terms of like building out the team underneath you, and what because you probably have a different flavor than most people, right? Like I don't know if you carried a bag earlier in your career or not, or if you really came up through the strategy side, but you definitely think through numbers, metrics. And so what's your advice for somebody building out their leadership team on go-to-market?
Yeah, you've got to be able to get somebody that's customer facing, I think, more than anything. I never carried a bag, personal bag. Like, I never had an individual quota. I always would step into certain leadership spots when there were vacancies. So I would fill in for a CRO when we were looking to go hire one at Qualtrics. I think I supported 6 CROs. At Workato, a similar thing. And then, so I would come in and do the traditional leadership stuff, and the weekly forecast call, and diving into the deals and reporting to the board, and filling those roles of a CRO. But I think the best thing that I ever did in my career was got close to deals. So I started jumping into the deals along with sales leaders and reps. And it helped me understand the whole picture, and helped me understand the product a little bit better and the needs of the customers. And so my hiring strategy here with any head of revenue operations is also that. So maybe you sell go-to-market tech, great. They should be your best salesperson. They should be dogfooding the product themselves. There's like, if they are close to a customer, and I think in the evolving world of AI, we've got to get people that want to be in front of customers and solve problems. Because if you're just kind of the ops person that's the back office, never wants to talk to anybody, that day's kind of past us, I think, because a lot of that's going to be automated with AI. So can you be customer facing and customer centric? That's one of the things I'm looking for sure.
And you're looking for that in all of your senior leadership hires across go-to-market?
Yeah, all of them across go-to-market for sure. Because yeah, I think the one thing that AI is not going to be able to replicate is going to be able to take all of that strategy, ops knowledge, and interact with people. And so I think, it's going to be all of that context and that knowledge of how the business coordinates together, but then bringing that and solving problems for customers. But I think it's one thing that it's not going to be able to do. It's not going to be able to have a conversation. When you're selling things, it's a lot of trust. It's personal relationships. So yeah, I'm looking forward across everything.
I love it. I've been looking forward to this one because before we hit record, you were talking about how everyone wants to hire builders now. And you're like, hey, I need to hire
Yes.
these folks. It's interesting. You've got both leadership, which maybe teams get smaller. You've got customer centricity, and you've got to get your hands deep on Claude code and understand this.
Yes.
How do you do all of those, right? Like in the old world, you and I were like, hey, we're really great at the system side and getting the deep and doing the building. So how do you find people that do all three without imploding?
Yeah.
And are also like
So
good human beings at the same time too. Right?
yeah, I mean, I'm definitely tapping the network. I think Whispered's a great name for what you're building because it's all whisperings that are happening around, finding people that do get the hands dirty versus just, talk the talk. Can you actually like fix some things? You find that out quickly through your network. And then if I don't know somebody I'm interviewing, the things that I'm looking for is I'm looking for insane curiosity and a high motor. Those are the two traits that I try to get ironed out in an interview. So those are two things I look for. Generally, if you're really curious and you get your hands on Claude Code or another AI, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, look at all the things I can do. And then if you have a high motor and a good work ethic, you're going to just put that to use, more so than, the typical 9 to 5. And so the output's going to be higher. So those are two things that I'm generally looking for in interviews for sure.
How do you assess? I think I know how you would assess curiosity, but I'd be curious your take. And then also, how do you assess high motor, right? Like what are the questions you're asking? Are you running case studies? Like, how are you figuring that out?
Generally just some interesting questions about like, so if somebody's interviewing at Zonos, right? I'm going to say, hey, what do you know about Zonos? I'm going to love to know, were they curious enough to look at the website? Do they have any idea? And are they going to ask some questions, right? So cross-border trade at Zonos is a fairly complex thing with tariffs and duty and de minimis. These are words that I didn't know about before I joined in a big way. And so if they give me something on that, like they've looked at the website, they poked around, they did some digging, this is what AI told them about what we do, and then they had some questions. They're like, this is what I could figure out on my own, but like I actually don't understand how that relates to foreign posts and how you're solving it for them. I see Canada Post on your website. What are you doing? And it's like there's some like healthy back and forth question and answer. Then there's some curiosity there, right? If I'm like, hey, what do you know about Zonos? What questions you might have? And they're just like, yeah, look at the website, cross-border trade. That's awesome. And it just falls after that. Like generally probably not very curious, right? If I ask them personal questions, like I talked to you about this earlier, I think, but I said, one of the ones I like to ask is, tell me something about you that's not on your resume. If they tell me something that they're learning or exploring or trying to accomplish, so generally I'll see some curiosity and motor come out there, right? If they tell me like just an accolade they did 10 years ago that's not on there that they couldn't fit in there, I'm like less impressed by that because I'm like, oh, okay, sweet. Like another bragging point versus something that might be just interesting and sparking their curiosity. Maybe they have a hobby on the side they love to go explore. I would love to hear about that. So those are kind of some of the things that I'm trying to figure out in an interview.
I love that. Side question, but how do you think about people having not side gigs, but like things they're building on the side, right? Like for example, like I built my last 2 startups nights and weekends while I was at bigger companies. And I always encourage people, right? I'm like,
I think it's super cool. Yeah, for sure. Like, you're curious. You're going to be figuring out what's new in the world of tech, especially with AI right now. Like, I built a website a couple nights ago for my son for his 3D prints. Like, he's got 3D prints and he wants to sell them. So we built a website on the side, and he's going to go do a little side hustle thing. Well, for him, it's his full hustle. He's 12, but yeah, we're always building. I think that's a good trait. I think if you start to see it like, come into play on the day-to-day work, and they're, too distracted by a side hustle, then it's like, probably, okay, you should probably just go do that full time and make it a real hustle, not the side hustle. But yeah, I think I view that positively personally. And yeah.
Maybe double clicking a little bit more on the builder's question, because we've been talking with a lot of people about that. What's the real question you're trying to answer, right? Is it, I guess I've seen three, is like, can you do more with less? Can you fly low and high, right? Like dive deep and go high? Or is it like literally just, can you build an AI? Like, what's the real question you've got on that side, right?
Those three are spot on questions. So I would
know,
use all
I know,
of them. But I don't know. Yeah, like, okay, so how would I suss that out? Like, what's a question for me? Or like,
I think there's more like, what I'm always really trying to understand right now is what, you get this question from everybody, right? Like, I talked to a guy that went to meet a CEO the other day at a couple $100 million company, and the CEO was like, he's interviewing for a C-level role. And he's like, I don't care about anything else. Like, what have you built in AI? Right. And I was like, wow. But I think some people are looking for altitude and can you get high or deep? And other people are literally looking for coding. And I'm curious, like, at that VP plus level, what matters to you, right? Because you are going to have some people underneath you. As long as you can speak the language, is it really important that somebody's actually coding themselves, right? Because if your whole company's coding, or AI coding or vibe coding or doing whatever, like, who's actually doing the real work? And that's, I don't, maybe it is agents now. I don't know.
Yeah,
sorry, it was a terrible question, but I'm fascinated to hear you ramble on.
It's an interesting paradigm shift for me personally. Okay. I've never written a line of code in my entire career. I never had to open up a terminal, which that might be foreign to a lot of listeners here, which is just another place to code, I guess. In the last week, yeah, I'm like redesigning our website right now, and I've never done website design. I'm just talking to Claude Code, talking to AI, and I'm using English. I think the new coding language is English. So if you can think it, and where if you can assess problems and know how to go fix it, or you have a point of view on design or what the layout should look like, I don't need to wait for like a head of design and a person, that's going to write the code to build the website. I just talk to it. I'm like, it doesn't look as good as I want. I want this a little bit differently. And it's literally updating the website. And then I'll just release a PR to the engineering team, and they'll just review my front end design work through Claude, and they'll say, looks good or bad, and give me some feedback, and we'll make it happen. But
you just cut out like 5 steps there if you're talking about a website, right? You don't have to go to the design team. You don't have to go to the product marketing team. You don't have to go to the web WordPress folks. And so in essence, you are cutting out multiple layers of shipping.
I'm cutting out a lot of layers. Like, I think it's just going to get a lot more flat, and you're going to find people that are close to customers and have a point of view on how we can solve things with our marketing or product that's going to get us there. And then you're building agents, but you have to still have that flying high enough viewpoint of where to go. Like, if you're just an order taker, your job's gone, because Claude Code can just do the order taking. Like, go code this. I can just tell it to do it. But if you're somebody that's proactively thinking, like, I've been hearing this come up on a lot of calls, or even AI has been telling me that this is coming up on a lot of calls, and I have an idea on how to go fix it in the source, whether that's your product or the website or whatever, those are the people that are going to elevate their careers for sure. And then if you have a point of view that you're senior, you're an SVP or a COO, you're coming in and you have a lot of ideas on where to go build and where to go fix, you're now just enabled, if you get your hands dirty, to just go do that at scale with a lot of agents to go do it. And I think we talked about a little bit off camera, but I now have a head of demand gen agent. I like connected Google Analytics to the back end of Claude. And now I just tell it like, hey, what are you seeing lately? And it's like, oh my gosh, you're spiking traffic on this web page in this region. You should double down on that and create some landing pages and roll with some ads on this. And here's where I would do it. Kill your LinkedIn ads because they're garbage. Go this route. And so if you have if you can take that data from AI and go act upon it and go make executive decisions and investment decisions on where, and you have context on if they're right when the agents give you answers, you're just you're superhuman right now. It's awesome.
Dude, you nailed it so well. I have like 5 thoughts swirling around in my head on this one. I mean, I think first you had insane curiosity and high motor. I think there's almost like maybe 2 more we need to add. One is maybe structured thinking.
Yes.
Because if you think about it, you and I both grew it. We may not, I reached a point where I wasn't actually building in Apex code with Salesforce, but I could architect it. I could sit there with my team and be like, this is how I need it to look. And so
Yep.
I found it insanely easy to adapt to all these lovable and Claude Code types of tools. And so I think that one would be one. And then that fly high and fly low is the one that I think people miss, right? Because you could get somebody that is curious, high motor and all that, but they can't step back. And so they're just coding all the time, right? Like if you think about the engineers, we always think about they're just in their coding. They never talk to customers. So it's like, it really is becoming this purple squirrel that we're starting to see people emerge to be able to do it for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you can paint the picture of what the thing should look like you did in Salesforce, right? This is what I need the layout to look like, or this is what I need the report to look like. It needs to be a stacked bar, and I want it quarter over quarter, and I want it, by industry and whatever. If you can just wireframe out, which is what you and I got really good at, is just like designing out, and then other people went and did it. And, for the last probably 10 to 15 years of our career, now you're enabled because you just say that to AI and it does it and it spits something back in 30 seconds and you iterate quickly and then you move on and you just keep tackling things. And so I just feel really enabled and unleashed. And I think the harder challenge is going to be for people that are just starting out in their career or maybe more junior that don't quite know what they want and or have the business context of what the business needs. That's the hard part that I've been wrestling with lately is like, how am I going to mentor my team that's more junior to be able to zoom out, like you talked about, to see what the business needs, that understands sound business metrics so that they can go solve some problems, right? Because I think that's the hard part is we leap forward so quickly that there's now this gap in we hired folks that are really good doers that want to just be in Excel, just do the thing. And we need to bring them along that journey with us to zoom out so that they can go be enabled to solve problems right now. And so I've been thinking a lot about that lately.
I think you're right. I mean, I don't know if it ever makes sense for us all to grow our own on that side, but I hope that it used to be that support was the entry level. And then it's like if the support's gone, or the vast majority of it, and the really good people probably are saying, I'm not going to make a career in that. And so an SDR very soon will probably be automated, mostly out of existence. And so I wonder if it's companies finding that, or do you just get better and better at hiring those types of people as well too?
Yeah, exactly. And maybe it's one person that's managing the agent, right? So maybe you have like your best SDR that wants to stay forever in SDR and they're just constantly refining that SDR agent or army of agents that's just like, a team of 100 that's making it all happen. And maybe in CS, you have that person that's kind of come up through the ranks and really knows your product so well and the CS issues at hand that they are monitoring the responses. And instead of 20 CS people, you have one that's really good and they're looking and they're clicking approve, and they're training the agent with better context. So it gets better and better and it's adapting, right? And so I think it just looks different, right? And the skill sets are still needed for sure. But that entry level position is going to look, I think, different here in the future. And I think from a revenue perspective, if you're really good in front of people and you can talk to people and you're curious and then you can sell. And I think that there's still going to be that human to human connection. That's the non-PLG side, maybe your mid-market or your enterprise role that I think will probably gravitate to having more people. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what it looks like, but it's going to be fun figuring it out.
Okay. So say you got one of those people and they've done all the work. We'll talk in a minute about how you find those people, but they've done all the work and then they depart for some reason. like in the old days, they would have done it in a SaaS system and you wouldn't have lost much, right? You're like, great, I can find somebody new. I can get the CSM in to train us and we'll get this thing back up and running and all the data is captured. I know a bunch of these people in these companies and these like world-class growth hackers, and they're building stuff. And I've asked a couple of them, like, if you leave, what happens? And because
Yeah.
it's jury rigged, it might be like their Zapier connecting this,
Yeah.
or hopefully it's their Workato or something like that
Yeah. Yeah.
instead.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. For
and
sure.
so like, how do you think about that as a president of your company? There must be those people you're like, I have this massively high powered person, and yes, they are doing the work of 10 people, but my God, if that person walks out the door, like nobody knows how to do their job.
Number one, first, take care of that person. So you just do all you can that they don't leave. Like you just take care of them with opportunities, with compensation. Don't be cheap, with equity, with whatever, whatever that person needs. But if they do walk out the door, which I think was your question, like what happens when they leave or what are you doing to prevent if they do leave? How do you handle that? I think that in this new world, you need to download all the context that they have into especially with agentic world, right? You need to download their context into whether that's GitHub, whatever you're using. Just make sure that you can get not this like they have their personal thing over here and that's where all the secret sauce is because when they leave, that's gone. Now you're out of it. Now, if you have that in a centralized, when they depart, now we still have it at our company. We can share it with the new hire coming on board. They have the context so they can ask AI what they were doing or how they did something. You're going to be better off. But in reality, I think that that's going to be difficult because to your point, I probably half the people or more is kind of running their own zaps or their own, recipes or whatever, their own agents right now on their own. And so it's a problem we need to go solve. I think getting them into a shared space where you can have multiple people collaborating on shared repositories and context, I think is the best solution. I just don't know if people are there yet today, but I think we'll be there in 6 months from now.
I think you're right. I mean, you could almost see a company. I mean, it's like the open Claude type of thing where it's like bots talking to bots, and so you're just like, I need to have a chat. I was actually talking to somebody about this the other day in GTM Council. They were talking about how do you know what the response rate on an email is? How do you know how on top of it your team is? And I was like, I could imagine whether it exists right now or not, but there is a agent monitoring the performance of that. So in theory, there's an agent monitoring the performance of every one of our high caliber people, watching everything they commit and learning about them. So you don't have to be like panicked in that 2-week period when they leave or something like that.
Exactly. No, I think you nailed it. That's exactly what it is. And so I think, think about if you hire a CMO, really senior person, right? But they have a bot that's their head of demand gen because now it's connected to Google Analytics and they're just training that agent with context, right? So like, hey, go look at Google Analytics, tell me what we need to go do. Okay, we learned some things doing it. Save this to your memory. This is what we're going to do moving forward, right? And so you're just building this context of their agents and their people in a shared space that can be accessed if they depart. I think that's probably going to be our best bet because I think people taking their context with them if they depart is going to be one of the biggest risks moving forward. And this probably sounds insane to a lot of people, Annie. Like you and I are getting this right now, but 2 weeks ago, I would not have understood anything I'm saying right now because I just started getting my hands dirty in Claude Code.
When did you take the red pill? What did it? Was it lovable? Was it what changed your eyes and opened them?
So it was Claude Code, and it was building my son's website for 3D prints. I bought a domain on GoDaddy.com and I was like, hey, I want to go build this website and I want to do it for free. I don't want to pay for services. And it was like, oh, okay, here's how we can do it. Tell us what you want on the website. And I just told him some things and when I say tell it, I also have this hack called Whisper Flow, which is like, I press Alt on my keyboard and I just talk and it listens to me. So I feel it and then it just types it out and I press enter. So I'm just talking to it. This is what we want. My son's talking to it. This is the design I want. And then it literally spit it out in 3 minutes, like 90% there. And then we just made some little edits. Hey, I want this thing here and this thing here. And in 10 minutes, we had a site that was functioning. And I said, I don't know how to connect this to GoDaddy. Like the GoDaddy has all the APIs, whatever you need. I want to do this for free. How do I do this? And it just It just was like, I'll do it for you. And it just did it. And it just started connecting things and it's like working and tells me it's doing all the stuff. And then all of a sudden it's like, yep, you're good. Go check it out. And I need this cred, like approve this, I approve it. And I had a website and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know how to do any of that. And I have a functioning website right now. So
I love it. So many people when you interview them, I mean, I asked somebody the other day, like, where are you at with AI? Like, oh, I use it to write. I'm like, no. Like, really, where are you at? I heard a great one the other day. One of our Whispered members actually presented the whole, like, and all huddle, stand up for this thing. And she effectively was going at a role. And so she got the sample case study. And instead of taking it and doing a, nice presentation or a gammaing it or something like that, she went and built a website and a filterable dashboard in Replit for that. Right.
yeah.
And so all of a sudden you show up at that interview. Say, Cody, you gave me a test. I show up at the interview and you're like, hey, can you show me the little PowerPoint that you did? I'm like, no, I'll do you one better. Like, let's dive into this dashboard I built. The question of, is this person a builder, gets taken away.
Oh my gosh, 100%. Yes, that's the way to kill it. I was thinking about this. When I do a demo now with a customer, if it's an enterprise one, you want to make sure your deck's tuned with their logos and all these things, right? And that used to be the old school way of thinking. It's like, okay, let's go to our deck repository. We find the FinServe deck. Let's replace their logos and let's like show up nicely with a presentation. Now we can just build the product into their website or like use their logos, but build a working website. Like, you want to see how Zonos works? Here, I went to your checkout. This is what it looks like. I mocked it up, but like, I have a website here that, look, we can click through it. And this is where you see the duty and taxes. And I'm using Zonos as an example, but here's where you see duty, taxes, and our fee in there. And this is how the flow would work for your customers. But it's a working website because it takes 3 minutes to spin it up. I just train an agent of exactly what I want the experience to be. It'll swap out logos. It'll look at their website and use it so it looks and feels like their website or whatever it might be. To your point, you do that in interviews. You also can now do that selling. You can actually like show them what it's going to be like.
One of my favorite companies, Inflection.io, which is basically fixing Marketo. And, it's basically like Marketo on AI. If you haven't seen it, it's amazing. But they run like Clay's Week in Review, right? Which is kind of like the Spotify Year in Review. And so what they did is they sent their agents out to sign up for every prospect, go through the entire customer journey, understand it, visualize it, and then come up with the 3 core metrics that they would put in that company's future week in review. And then they started sending those images out, right? And so it's like, it's no longer just enough, like I won't name the company, but there's one company, they'll send it out and look at it. We were doing this at Carta too. You're sending it out and looking at like your TAM and understanding them and categorizing them and classifying them. That's the easy stuff now. Like having it like go sign up for your companies and your prospects domains and being able to do that and wire it into the entire flow is powerful, right?
Super powerful. And a few weeks ago, I would have thought that was la la land, maybe a few years out. Sounds cool. But actually seeing and building some of this stuff, it's like real. It's here like today, people can start doing this and experimenting and getting somewhere. So no, it's exciting because I think the future of the revenue org, whether that's ops or sales leader, whatever it might be, the future is super fun. Like, it's not being bogged down with like tasks that are not fun. It's actually human to human connection. It's being in front of customers, solving problems, making people feel great about that. It's providing value everywhere you're going. So I love that. I'm super optimistic about where it's going.
I am too. One question I like up until like this last year, I always asked was, do you know how to use SQL, right? Because that was a proxy for me of structured thinking and curiosity. Now you've got me thinking of, do I need to ask, do you know how to open a terminal and do something in it? Right? Like if, I'm curious, like, would that be the bar you would set for your VP, like your next level managers, or is that kind of one step too far, or what is that? What would be that killer question?
It's a great question. I think here shortly, like, because if I would have interviewed myself 2 weeks ago, I would have failed that. And so I don't know that I want to just like write somebody off today, but I think it would be like, I would love to ask the question I think you asked earlier, which is like, what are you doing with AI? I want to see where they're at. And then I would love to like pressure test where they see it going. What are some things you want to do with AI that because yeah, like I said, 2 weeks ago, I would have failed that bar. And so I don't want to like just immediately say that. But I think, yeah, 6 months from now, for sure, if you're not building, that's that's not a good sign. Even a month from now, that might not be a good sign if you're not building and getting curious. But yeah, I think that's a question for sure. It's going to be in there to just suss out like, are you trying to innovate? Like, because that matters in the world, or are you kind of just still resting on what you've done for the last 10 years? Because it's a changing world. I was thinking about this earlier. I was thinking about like forecasting is kind of the way that we did it with these big meetings, and you prep for the meeting. What question am I going to ask? And is the sales leader going to nudge me to be hard on the rep when they don't want to be, and it's good cop, bad cop, or whatever it might be? I think that's all done. I'm just going to be asking Cloud, like, what's the forecast? Where are we going to end up? And what are the big deals that swing it one way or the other? And that's it. I just get a number. I don't need reps to do anything. I'll ask them on the big deals, and I'll be close to the big deals because I'll be working them alongside those reps. But like the smaller mid-sized deals, like it's going to be better at it than we can be, because it's going to have API'd in your call recorder, whether that's Gong, Chorus, whatever, Clary. And it's going to be spitting out probabilities and assessments on the deals. And it's just going to know better than a human will. And they're not going to be trying to hide anything. And so as long as you have those big deals and you can put them in or put them out of the call, I think you're just asking AI, and I'm not going to have a forecast meeting ever again.
I would agree. I used to always say to software companies, find the meetings you want to build your software around a meeting. Right.
Yeah.
But now these meetings are going to die. And so maybe you don't want to do that anymore.
Yes.
I'm so glad I found you now rather than like a month ago. The fact that it took us a while to schedule, it meant we were both busy, and now we got
That's
it.
right. Yes.
How do we find these people? Like I've got my theses. They're probably all whispered, but like, you put up a job description. It's hard. Like, how do you go about this, Cody?
So
maybe I'm thinking mostly like director plus type people.
For sure. So the way that I find them out, I've got a standing poker night that I have once a month. And we started it at Qualtrics. It's just some buddies that got along well there. And we're at we have a poker night. Table is usually 10 to 12 people once a month. We're a $20 buy-in. I'm not a big gambler, but I'm $20 buy-in still. So that's $20 a month that we put in on these poker nights. Usually 10 to 12 show up, but we have about 20 people on the invite. So, 6 or 8 people don't show up or whatever the number is. And so we get around and we're just talking with each other. Usually it's whispered, like you said, it's talking about it, and then it's back channels, and are these people really good? If I haven't worked with them, it's my network. Are these people really good? And then I'm pressure testing for what I want. And usually my friends and these colleagues, they know what I'm looking for versus maybe what somebody else is looking for. But to your point, it's whispered. It's usually out one of these things. It's a referral network. It's, you get the first level back channel, and then you get the really good back channel, like to really know what's going to be happening. So I think you're spot on there.
I can't wait to show you what we're about to launch with Whispered too. So it's,
nice.
You kind of framed it a little bit, but we've done 40 of these interviews with folks like you, and the number one signal is back channel, right? It's above all else.
Yeah. If I haven't worked with them personally, it's who do I trust that's worked with them personally? And then I'm asking, hey, this isn't a role where it's like, do your friend a solid here. These are the things we're looking for. Can they deliver? If not, let's just like save myself, that's your friend, and this other friend a whole bunch of time here. And let's just, if they fit, let me know, because I want to go make this hire. So yeah.
Okay. So how do you hire, right? Like if if you think about the way we all hire, what do? We first go to LinkedIn and we type in the name of that role, and we ping the 8 people we think might know it the best, right? You and I probably ping a lot of the same people to ask the same things. And so the hitters that we all know and the people we really respect get pinged. And then what happens is you kind of run out of those people, right? They're like, yeah, that one guy or gal, like they're not really looking. And then you go like one step removed on your top people, and then you're done. So what do you do after that, Cody? Because I guarantee you're not hired every single person for the poker group, right? I mean,
No,
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 not,
no.
and I
But
know
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not the poker
no,
group, but
no.
it's who the poker groups think about as
No,
well, too.
yeah, who do they know and all that type of stuff. But then usually if I'm having a really hard time on a senior hire, my next question to the network or people that I know or what I'm searching for is like, who's one of those up and coming stars that's maybe never done it before that you think could step into a bigger role? Because I've benefited from that my entire career. I wasn't ready for any of the roles I took on. I wasn't ready for president role when I came to Zonos, but there was a back channel from my CEO who I had met, Clint, to 3 people that I had worked closely with. And they're like, well, he's never done that role before, but like, yeah, he could go step into it. Just bet on him. And I'm grateful for the bet on him mentality that I had. Like that so somewhere I had fostered enough people to say that I'm looking for those people. Who are the people that are curious with a motor, that are intelligent, that like to be customer facing. And maybe maybe right now they're a head of marketing ops. But like, oh, they could step into a head of rev ops role and in an SVP or a VP role for sure. They just need somebody to bet on them because maybe they're capped at their current spot, right? And so those are people I try to find, and I'm always betting on those people too.
I would agree. So Sequoia for 20 years has asked this question of everybody they've met, right? Like, hey, who are
Yeah.
the best people you know? Who's the up and comers?
Yes.
I spent some time with the Sequoia talent team, and they shared like the questions they ask and how they ask them, and they built this massive database of this. I think for the rest of us, we just kind of like poke around our network until we figure it out.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to build the repository for sure. I think the more people you know and get to know, though, you can expand that network, which then infinitely expands your to removed network, right? So I think one thing I got advice on super early in my career that I loved was just take people out to lunch. Just offer to take people out to lunch. I remember I was new in the space. I didn't know anything about sales ops, and I just started like asking anyone around the Utah County area where I live, like, hey, can I take you out to lunch? Looks like you've been in ops in the space for a while, or would love to learn. And that's where I got some of my best ideas and some of my closest friends and my network of being. So when you expand your kind of first connection network, when you ask people, hey, who are those rising stars? You now have, 10 times the network you used to, or 100x. It's exponentially different when you expand your kind of closer network and don't make it too much of an inner circle, but make it that thing as big as you can. You get the exponential effect when you're asking around for sure.
How do you figure out who you trust in your network? You kind of talked about the don't do somebody a solid, or how do you figure out like who's legit on this and not? And I'd be curious. You got a bot around to you, so I'll stop asking the question.
And there's so many tells, right? There's so many tells. It's like poker that like somebody's trustworthy or not, that you can ask around or figure out in an interview. That I try to get like that character piece. That is, I mean, we talked about motor and curiosity, but without true good character, that you're a good human, I mean, none of the other stuff matters, right? So I remember, this is a funny story on an interview. I'll tell you, you'll love this one. So one time I was interviewing somebody, and they put on their resume as one of their like cool things. They had said, I can solve a Rubik's Cube in a minute. And I had just never seen anybody do that. And so I was super excited for the interview. So I ran around the office and found a Rubik's Cube on somebody's desk, and I brought it to the interview. And I was like, we met. Okay, your name, my name, great. We got to know each other for a minute. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. On your resume, this Rubik's Cube thing, I got to see this. And they had no idea how to even maneuver a Rubik's Cube. They'd completely lied, right? And I just ended the interview like right away. I just said, hey, they were super embarrassed. They were just like, and I just said, hey, would love to give you some advice here. I'm going to end the interview here, because if you're not honest on your best piece of work you can put forward, then you're not going to be honest on a lot of other things that I'm going to need to trust you with. This was for a head of compensation. of all things, right? It was like, yeah. So I said, I just some advice. I would go revise that, and I would never lie again in an interview or on a resume. Just own up to stuff if you can't do it, and be honest wherever you can. I just ended it because
they
I
might
made a
have,
stuff in
they might have actually saved if they've been like, hey man, I was just having some fun with the interview. Like it's not real. Like
for sure that could have been funny. I would have laughed, but like, uh, you know, yeah. So they couldn't do it. I just ended it. But I mean, if I see warning flags like that, I just talked to somebody that was like wanting to work at Zonos, and they were telling me that like, I was like, how are you juggling the remote and the not remote? And they were traveling a lot and with their family. And they were like, well, I actually VPN in to where I live. I don't want to give this person away, so I don't want to say it, but like in this state, I VPN in so that they always think I'm there. And I always use like a background so they think I'm in my office, but a lot of the time I'm not. And hey, that's cool. Like if you want to travel, that's awesome. But just the fact that you're hiding it is a huge warning flag to me. I'm like, just tell your employer, like, just be like, hey, I'm on the road this week or what, like, just do whatever. And if you can't do it there, then go find another gig where you can. Don't lie and be VPN. So like, as soon as that happened, I didn't care how good they were for the qualified role. It was over for me. Like, I'm just like, okay, all right.
dude, someone said morals are like cockroaches. Like you find one moral issue, they just keep coming. So I think you're exactly right. It's like those red flags.
Yeah. So those are things I'm trying to suss out a little bit.
Dude, I love it. I could ask you questions for hours. We will geek out some more on a bunch of topics. I will pause it here because I want to spend the last 5 minutes just telling you what we're building that I can't tell on the podcast right now. But thank you for this time, Cody. This is awesome.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Andy. Appreciate your time. And then I want to hear what you're building for sure.
Awesome.